Too many.
Too many.
So this I hinted at before we started talking. One night in I think 2022.
She saw the long 3 hour 20-minute cut.
So it was like Anurag Kashyap is saying that he wants to show a new film that he's made. So we turn up and then so Kashyap is famous for having mini screenings at his apartment in Bombay. And it was one of those mini screenings, and it just happened to be this surprise film that he had made guerrilla style underground. Nobody knows he's making this film.
Oh yeah, but I made more films and people don't know about my films. Still, I made them.
Till you make them, you decide to tell them about those films. When did Kennedy first come to you? When did you start writing it?
I think I had an emotional breakdown during the COVID because we had a company called Phantom and we were making great films.
Yeah.
And for, I think, obvious and well-known reasons, our Phantom shut down. And it was emotionally, I was very invested in that company. And we were making amazing movies and it literally broke me somewhere, but I was in denial because I was the reason to shut it down. I shut it down myself. I was in denial for 2 years, but I was busy working. I did Sacred Games, I did Man Marziyan, I did Mukkavas, I did Love Stories, I did Sacred Games 2. I did Choked. I was non-stop was working, and suddenly there was COVID. And then I had my own demons to face.
Yeah.
I had my own demons to face. And that's also the time India was politically very volatile. There was lots of things happening. And I was kind of a reactive person. I don't react now anymore. But I was very reactive to what was happening politically in the country and the repercussions of which was on my daughter, who was studying here in LA.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was also writing my most ambitious film that I've been working for a long time, which was Maxim City. And I handwrite, so I don't type. I handwrite, and I wrote a 900-page script of Maxim City. So I wrote 900 pages over the thing, and somehow everybody was very scared, and that film got shelved. Like, we went into pre-production, and suddenly I got news that they don't want to do Maxim City. Suketu Mehta's book. And I was very invested in it. It's a 3-part film, 9-hour film. It got shelved, and I was very angry. And that's also kind of coincided with my daughter moving out of the house. My daughter moved in with a boyfriend. So suddenly I had a very empty, massive house, all alone by myself, with lots of whiskey. And I started playing Tchaikovsky at full volume across the house, and I would walk around like a ghost in the house. And I was having my whiskey, and with Tchaikovsky, exactly the same Tchaikovsky that plays on the film. And I sat down and I just wrote it overnight.
Really, one night?
One night. Because when I wrote this film, it's based on actual events that happened just a week before I wrote it. So everything that's in the film is kind of inspired from the events that happened just a week before. So I was
within Maharashtra politics, within the
within Mumbai, within whatever was happening with vaccine,
yeah,
and Maharashtra politics and this Scorpio case.
Yeah.
And I just sat down and I don't know, it was just poured out of me. And I simply had shelved. So I was very angry and I was full of whiskey and Tchaikovsky.
Heady combination. Are we okay with the sound? Are we getting from both the mics from Anurag as well? Okay, great.
We can wait.
Huh?
And I wrote the film just one night.
These mics are necessary.
I wrote the film in the night, in the morning I sent it to everyone. saying, I wrote this and I'm going to make this film.
And then you shot it in 2021?
I shot it in 2022.
2022 you shot it. And
Yeah, I
then,
wrote it in 2021 July.
right.
I shot it in 2022, 1 year later.
And 1 year later it was in Cannes. 23.
23 was it?
May.
Yeah.
Talking about casting the two most unusual people you would expect for these roles, and not that Rahul is amazing. He is just so incredible in as Henry. And Sunny Leone, like what a revelation! What a wonderful dramatic actor she is. She's incredible.
It's like because Sunny was actually the first choice.
She's so good.
Sunny was the first choice for simple reason. I needed a woman who was sexualized by men
Yeah.
and without a single sex scene. And she was sexualized by men and she was only seen as an object and objectified and used like that. And I didn't want to cast an actor to do things to be like that because Sunny, I think herself has all her life struggled with that. So for me, when I reached out to her, she actually got emotional. She said, she was really like, you really? And yes, this is, I think you're my first choice. If you say no, I'll go to other actor. So, and she said yes, and not just that, she said yes. She didn't even charge me anything.
She did it for free, pro bono.
She nothing, I don't know, my producer knows that because I have never got a single call from Sunny except she's always in there and she's literally become like my sister, my carer, everything. She's worried about my health, she's everything. She's like, nobody has treated me like this and seen me as a human being. She's now my friend, she's my part of my life, she's everything. But
How did you know she'd be able to pull it off? Because we've not seen her do anything like that ever.
I have faith in people. I think, if you really see people and you put faith in them, then they also do their best. I actually believe that. Why would you hire people if you don't have faith in them?
Facts. And Rahul Bhatt. I mean,
Rahul actually, I did not write it for Rahul.
that's right. So okay, so here's this another story. So we move to Rahul Bhatt, but first tell us, there's two reasons. Actually no, I think there's only one reason why this film is actually called Kennedy. Tell us that story.
Yeah. So I wrote it for Chia Vikram. I wrote the film for Chia Vikram because Chia Vikram was doing a film with Maniratnam. And my very dear friend, who's almost like I gave her away at her wedding, Shobita Dolipala, she was acting in that film,
Ponniyin Selvan.
Ponniyin Selvan. And she told me Vikram wants to work with you. And Vikram and me, we go way back because Vikram was a dubbing artist before he became an actor. And he dubbed for Satya, which was my first film.
Which character did you have for?
Vigo. And Chia Vikram, I wrote it for Chia Vikram. And Chia Vikram's real name is Kennedy. His actual name is Kennedy. So when I wrote the film for him, on the top of the file it was called the Kennedy Project.
So if you go look at Chia Vikram's Wikipedia page, it will tell you that his name is actually Kennedy.
His name is actually Kennedy.
So this film was written for Vikram in mind.
It was written with Vikram in mind and it was called Kennedy Project. And then Kennedy stuck. Chia had changed his phone number. I sent him several messages, he never responded. So then Rahul, because Rahul Bhatt has worked with me as also my friend. So you know what happens, you tend to take your friends for granted. I never saw him in the role. So one day he was sitting there and he was exercising and gymming and he had his long hair and he was unshaven. And I saw him and I was like, you look like the Howard's character. And Rahul told me, why am I always a second option? So he's always been my second option, but he's also always been there. He never questioned me. And he came on board. And then Chia Vikram replied one day because that's the next schedule of PS, Ponniyin Selvan. And I told Sobita, I said, Chiram, you never responded to me, so I'm going with somebody else.
Then Chiram was upset with you also later on, wasn't
Yeah, he was very upset. He was like, you can't call the film Kennedy and not have me. I said, like, now I'm 1 month away from shoot, I don't have you anymore. So,
You didn't think about changing the name to Kennedy, because I think in this version you don't really quite find out why he's named himself Kennedy for this.
yeah, I'm just stuck. I don't know. I'm very bad with names, because all my scripts,
Yeah.
like all my women characters, most of my movies are named after my mother. So everybody in my film is named after somebody I know. So I'm not very creative with names.
For the American audience, Kennedy means completely something different now. Kennedy is another terror now in the United States. Nobody knew, nobody would have guessed that this was coming. I am also very curious about the music of the film. Of course, there's the operatic music, but there's also the live music that Amir Aziz has performed.
Yes, because Amir was the voice of protest during the COVID.
Can I give a little context to people here? So the singer performer you see at the bar, at the clubs, his name is Amir Aziz. He's a writer, he's a singer, he's a performer, and when there were CA and RC protests happening all over the country, Amir Aziz's nonsense and his writing were being used, and he was also on the forefront, performing quite a lot. And I think that's when you met him for the first time.
So Amir Aziz during the COVID, when politically everything was, the government was after the students and the Jamia Millia and everything, Amir was the voice of protest. So if you put Amir Aziz on YouTube, you will find his poetry. I was very influenced, at the same time affected by Amir Aziz's poetry on YouTube. So I reached out to him and I said, I want you to sing and do poetry for the film. He's like, he had never done a film before this. He's like, I can't do it. I said, you can do it. This is, why do you think I can do it? And I was like, I had faith in him. I know he can do it. Because he's a very passionate performer. So I would sit down and listen to all his poetry. I said, this is my house. 6 months, and this other boy blank.
Yeah.
He was a 19-year-old boy who had never done any music that he put out. So my best friend's daughter was interning on the film and she was staying in my house. And she one day was listening to his music and I was like, who's this boy? And he only wrote about teenage angst, 19-year-old boy. And I was like, I like his sound and voice, but I think he needs to figure something out. So I said, put me in touch with him. I called him and I said, would you come to Bombay? And he's like, I have my exams.
Yeah. Boy blank, yeah?
Boy blank.
Yeah.
I said, I have my exams. I said, yeah, but you can give your exams from anywhere, right? And he said, yeah, but my parents won't let me go because they don't know I do music. So I was like, can I talk to your parents? So I spoke to the parents and the parents were like, we don't believe who you are because I think our son is using you. Can we talk on video? So I had to talk on video to his parents and then they believed me talking. And they said, but where will you stay? And I said, he'll stay in my house.
Yeah.
I told the parents, I'll take care of him. He'll stay in my house. I promise you we'll come for your exams and he'll do everything and he'll be paid for it. So that's when the parents let him go. He stayed in my house. Amir Aziz, I called him, he stayed in my house. Both him and Amir Aziz, 6 months stayed in my house jamming together.
Wow.
6 months.
Yeah.
While I was shooting the film, they kept jamming together. And what happened was Boy Blank became more political. Amir found the music in it, and I got them a music producer. And this is the first time they ever did music and put it out there. Now Boy Blank is a famous rapper in Delhi, and Amir Aziz everybody knows in India. And it took us 6 to 8 months to find music for the film, which was more poetry, which is more political. I told Amir that you have to forget the film, talk about things that's going around in the country. Talk about things that we are going through. Forget the film. and he wrote his poetry. Like the title sequence, the song that he wrote about lynching. It's a love song about lynching. And I was like, I'm going to put this as the title song in the film. And he was initially very scared, then he got braver and he started pouring it out. Because he's a poet. He started pouring it out and just came out of it. The songs that I've not used in the film, which are as powerful. But they both started pouring it out. Also, we've always told in the talks. But the thing is, like, I was pushing them, and then finally, when the songs were composed, I shot it with them, which was actually end of shoot. So we finished the whole film. Then I shot it with them, and then the final poetry that we used in the film was done 2 months before the premiere at Cannes. After he saw the film.
So, we watch this film, we're gonna go back thinking about the stories Anurag tells and Sunny Leone and Ralph Hart, but I also would highly recommend, look up Amir Aziz, look up Boy Blank, look up the music that they make, and support their work as well. Now, talk to me about the whole operatic score that you designed. Why did you want the music of this film to be so grand?
I don't know. When I was writing it, I was listening to Tchaikovsky.
So for
me, it was like, it's written in the script.
Yeah.
So I wrote it in the script, the score playing. I wrote it, it's written in the script, the score is written in the script.
The first shot.
And I went out, I did not know who to go to because we didn't have the budget. And we tried to find people to compose Tchaikovsky. We went to London, it was beyond the budget of the film. Everywhere. Finally in Prague, I got Sir Adam Clements, who's composed the music for Planet of the Apes and Rise of the Planet of the Apes and for the Planet of the Apes. I got him finally. He said, for your budget, it has to be done in 3 days.
Wow.
So I still have the videos of it. I have the videos on it on my phone. So I said, but to do it in 3 days in the money that you have, I need preparation time. So he took his time. I went to Prague. I was just hanging around. And the same studio where Hans Zimmer records his music. And I was like in the studio every day and I was like, okay, this is the music for Nolan film. All the music was like lying around like this. I was like, and they could not find a violinist. They had to ask a violinist to, I mean, we did not even have the money to fly in the violinist, so we had to ask him to take a train. So we brought in a violinist and with an 80-piece orchestra. After he composed everything, all the Tchaikovsky thing together, and we actually recorded in 3 days.
Rahul Bhatt must have been so happy to see himself to get that sort of background music support in a film because it makes him look larger than life, immense from the first shot, right? Doesn't it? Yeah.
The background score was my directorial piece.
It was what?
My directorial piece.
Yeah.
Because the studio didn't give me any money, so I had to let go of my directorial piece
to have the music.
To have the music.
Anyway, this is why you make the films that you do. Obviously everybody knows this, that you have an affinity for writing stories that involve some sort of law, justice, order, and policing. Was it so in 2020 you felt like you wanted to go back because you hadn't made a film about police in a while at that point?
No, I went through a phase of I had a mental breakdown, emotional phase post Manmarziya and Mukabbas. And I dealt with a lot of things. But Maxim City was for me my
breaking point.
It was like literally I poured everything in there. It was my story. I still date think is that 900 pages that I hand wrote, that was my best script I've ever written. And it didn't get made. So that anger combined with everything that I poured in, and I write non-stop, I write with hand. 900 handwritten pages is there.
Yeah.
And Suketu Mehta was the writer of Maxim City, the book.
Yeah.
For him, it was like, see, I was attached to Maxim City from 2008. So at that time, it was to be done in English. Danny Boyle was producing it. I was still the director. And I always told Danny Boyle that it will only work in Hindi. But Slumdog had won so many Oscars, and he had various ideas. He said, "You direct it, but you get it written." I said, "You can't write it because the very theme of the book was, in the sense, Suketu was writing Maxim City at the same time that Vikram Chandra wrote Sacred Games, and I was working on Black Friday,
Yeah.
and all three of us were co-writers on a film called Mission Kashmir.
Right.
So three of us were working together on three separate projects.
Mm.
So for me, Sacred Games, Maxim City, and Black Friday, we had the same resources and same people. So I know all those things. So I've done Black Friday, I did Sacred Games. I said Maxim City also belongs to me.
Mm.
I know where the story comes from, I know where it came from. So I know how to adapt it, but let me do it in Hindi. It took all of 11 years for it to come back to me to do it the way I want to do it. And I wrote it in Hindi. I gave it 1 year, and I made 15 months actually, 1 year and 3 months. 15 months I wrote a 9-hour film, 3-part film, which was greenlit by Netflix, which everybody loved. So, and it was in pre-production. So for me, I could not fathom that something that everybody loves,
Yeah.
they are not doing it because of fear of the repercussion that has not yet happened. It broke me. That's where Candy came from. And after that, I've just been non-stop writing and making films. Because somewhere, I know what came out of Maxim City was, now I made 3 films last year.
Yeah.
And now I'm making 2 this year.
Can
I'll
you
make
sort of
2
open
next
the
year.
floodgates for you?
It just opened the floodgates.
Yeah.
Because I was so angry and pissed off that I just said, I will not let them stop me from making films.
So there's a life lesson in here, ladies and gentlemen. When you put 11 years of your life towards something and then it doesn't go out, you make a candy. So much of this film, Anurag, plays out in dialogue that takes place in the movie car, which is so wonderful. Because sometimes Rahul is just listening, sometimes he's participating. So much of this film happens in a car. Obviously, that was shot in the pandemic, so the streets were sort of empty, so you could shoot
I
those
didn't
scenes.
shoot it in the pandemic.
You shot it after the lockdown was
I
lifted,
shot
right?
it in 2022.
So the lockdown had been lifted right before that.
So yeah, we had only weekends and we only shot the road scenes on the weekends in town between 1 to 5 a.m. for us.
But why does so much of it happen in Kennedy's car? Is it because he's a cab driver and he's also sort of listening to the conversation? Did you want
So
to
this
involve
character statement,
Bombay?
you see, Uday Shetty is a real person.
Right.
So Uday Shetty is not a fictional person. But the only thing is Uday Shetty is from 80s. I put him in the COVID. So Uday Shetty was a cop who was mentally, with mental health issues at a time that mental health was not talked about. And Uday Shetty, actually, his name was also Uday Shetty. I have not even fictionalized the character's name. He's a real person and he's still alive. So Uday Shetty was a cop who did the dirt, who was a suspended cop,
Yeah.
who did the dirty job for the people in power and the police in the 80s. And Uday Shetty had a OCD, he had an obsessive disorder, that every victim of his, he would take the ring or the watch or something that they had on their body to put in his drawer as a reminder of people he killed. And he constantly saw their ghosts. So those things are not real. Those things are not fictional, they're real. And I found out about him because the film is dedicated to Sudhir Mishra.
Right.
In 2003, Sudhir Mishra hired me as a writer to write a film about Uday Shetty. So that's how I know the story of Uday Shetty. And the story stayed with me. That film never got made. It was shot for one day with Sanjay Dutt.
No
And
way.
then, yeah. It was shot for one day with Sanjay Dutt, and the film got shelved.
You had written it, Sudhir was directing it,
So he was directing it, Sanjay Dutt was acting in it. And it was not this film, it was something else. It was actually Uday Shetty film. And it had a lot of influence of LA Confidential. That film never got made. The story of Uday Shetty has stayed with me. So years later, I got a chance and I wanted to make a film about exactly what happened during COVID, but I could not put it on people that really did what they did. So I took Uday Shetty's character, so it's almost became a fictional character, and I put everything on him and made a film about what really happened during the COVID lockdown.
Wow, and also Uday Shetty was also Anil Kapoor and welcome.
Uday Shetty right now is a farmer and he has a ranch in Australia. He is in Australia and he is a farmer. He still likes.
Has he seen the film?
I don't think so.
Do you know anybody who's in touch with him?
I know that the cops in Mumbai are very angry with me for making this film.
Well, it's really
The
nice.
police used to love me after making Black Friday and all this stuff, but suddenly now they are very angry.
I mean, can you blame him? But jokes aside, it was also very nice to see Sudhir Mishra at Cannes watching the premiere. He was there that night.
He was very emotional.
Yeah, he was there in that room. So let me take you to that night at Cannes in 2023 in May. I don't know how many of you, if any of you, have been to the film festival. Of all the movie theaters that are there on that stretch, the biggest one is called the Grand Theatre Lumiere. And the Grand Theatre Lumiere is a 2,000-seater, I think, roughly, that has all the competition films that screen there and the section that Kennedy was programmed in, that's the midnight section. At midnight, a crowd of 2,000 people walked into the theater to watch this film. And then in walks Anurag, one hand Sunny Leone is holding, one hand Rahul Bhatt is holding. And it was just a really, really incredible moment to see all of that play out on the big screen. All of Anurag's friends were sitting inside watching, we were all taking pictures. It was just a wonderful evening. Motwane was there, I took a wonderful picture of him standing big with your face on the big screen behind. Do you remember that night at all, or is it a blur? Because it was a big night.
It was an overwhelming night. It's a blur. We didn't know what happened because I remember that after the night, me and Motwane on the roadside, we just sat and drank and cried. And he's my best friend.
Cute.
Not just best friend, he's like my brother, he's like everything to me. He came to Cannes for me and me and him and Shubra was our partner, we just sat and cried.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know, things happen.
I was very fortunate to be in that room that night. Talk to me about. We have 10 more minutes left? Okay, so now you want to do Q&As? Okay, TK, we can quickly move to Q&A now. I just wanted to ask you one last question before we move to Q&A. To answer that gentleman who was jumping up earlier, why has Kennedy had such a long wait time before it gets to hit the screen?
So what happened was Kennedy screened at Mami. And Mami, it was screened at the Meeta Mukesh Ambani Center. So your laughter says it all. So so the premiere of Kennedy in India happened at Meeta Mukesh Ambani Center, and you know who got upset. And it's by the funding of the Mami Film Festival also rumored, not fact, got stopped.
We don't know that.
We don't know anything what happened. Bade Papa got upset. The Big Daddy got upset with the film, and Big Daddy got upset with the fact that somebody had the gall to screen the film at his own cinema. And the film got stuck. Finally, the film is censored, and we are headed for the release in June, July, hopefully, because we have to do it ourselves now. Because when Big Daddy is upset, then the film is working. So. And we never named him in the film. We never named him. We call him Big Daddy. But Big Daddy knows he is Big Daddy.
My wow is so cool. Chalo, let's open it up for Q&A. Do we have a mic that's going on?
Over there.
We can start the.
So we're gonna actually go up to the mic and have a question?
They
Okay.
don't have
Is there a mic there?
we don't have a mic.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anurag, wonderful watching your film. My name is Samir Khan. I'm actually from Mumbai, but I've been an actor in Los Angeles for some years. मैं हिंदी में आपसे पूछना चाहूँगा. मुझे आपका एक डायलॉग बहुत अच्छा लगा उसमें. वो था कि गिल्ड के पकोड़े जो है ताज़े खा लेने चाहिए, उसका मुरब्बा नहीं बनाना चाहिए. तो वो डायलॉग आपने लिखा था या किसने लिखा था? एंड सेकेंडली आप जो केस है ऑलरेडी दैट सब जुडिस मेरे ख्याल से वो चल रहा है, तो डिड यू फेस एनी ट्रबल बिकॉज ऑफ दैट और यू एक्सपेक्टिंग एनीथिंग? थैंक यू.
The thing ke pakode.
Let me translate it for
And
people.
repeat it. Thank you for the recording.
Yeah, what?
Repeat the question.
Yes, I'm going to repeat the question and I'm going to translate it for those who don't understand Hindi. He wanted to ask about the last scene in the film where Abhilash Paprial's character shows up, the imagination of him shows up, and he says to Kennedy that my grandmother used to say that when guilt ke pakode garam garam kha lene chahiye, when he's trying to dissuade him from texting his daughter. So where did that dialogue come from? Did you write that?
The dialogue comes from my own thing because, my ex-wife, who's my best friend and also my editor,
Arti Bajaj.
Aarti Bajaj, she's the greatest editor India is.
Fact.
It's a fact. So, it's her favorite film. And she didn't edit this film, but she saw the film, she said, Anurag, stop being guilty. We said, my best friends should never marry. We were best friends in childhood, and the only mistake we did was we got married. But she saw the film, and she knows my guilt towards my own daughter. And it's not only film, Ugly, a lot of other films comes from me not being there because my daughter was 4 years old when we separated. And I love my daughter because she's my only family. And I think a lot of my life revolves around her. And nobody more than my ex-wife understands that. When she saw the film, she cried and she said, you have to now finally stop feeling guilty towards your daughter. So the line actually comes from her. Guilt ke pakode garam garam dal ke kha lene chahiye. Means fry your guilt, eat it
While it's hot.
while it's hot. Don't ferment it, it's bad for digestion. So it's kind of a thing like that. But my daughter and my ex-wife, they laugh at this dialogue. Other people kind of it resonates with them. But it does come from my own personal. The whole climax actually comes from my own personal thing of not having been enough. Like my daughter got married last year, and if you go on ahead and see any videos, you'll only see me crying.
Also true.
You'll only see me crying. Any given day, any given moment, I'm only crying. So
It's very sweet though, Anurag. Don't ever feel guilty about showing emotion toward your loved one. It's very, very sweet. So what's the second part?
and second part of the question, no, I don't because I have actually changed names. Yes, the police is very upset with me, and they'll be 10 times more upset when they see my next film.
And that clearly doesn't bother you.
I have made horror films about the system. It's like when you speak truth
Yeah.
and they know that you're speaking truth, they obviously upsets them, but I also know that somewhere deep down they also respect that. I have faith in it because I have fought the system a lot. So I've had the repercussions, I've had the consequences, but end of the day I'm still here and I'm still making films because deep down they know that I have no agenda. Deep down they have some kind of a respect and faith in me. I have no agenda, I'm not really politically aligned with some other party. I'm not doing it for money. So I've actually heard it from some people that I've actually criticized publicly that I'll take it from you, but I'll not take it from anybody else. So I don't know, somewhere I think it comes across. I don't fear it. At the most, what will they do? They'll put me in prison or they'll hang me. At the most, they'll do that. But they'll get hanged for that themselves if they do it.
So, sleep well tonight. Yes, ma'am, yes, right in the front.
Hi, my name is Sneha. Hi, Sucharita. Hi, Anurag. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sneha.
आपकी तो speech ही शुरू हो गई
नहीं,
है।
थोड़ा सा लूंगी टाइम और मैं क्वेश्चन पूछूंगी लेकिन इससे पहले कितने खून किए?
कितने खून किए?
Are you asking Anurag how many people he has murdered?
Yes.
What the
Murder in
hell?
the sense like murdered how many people, how many souls?
How many souls? Of course.
How many?
अभी murder people किया होता तो आप यहाँ होते ही नहीं।
Not at all.
No, I think half the film industry.
Nothing, guys, not no one. Anurag doesn't murder souls, Anurag murders.
ये जो पूरी मूवी थी, the entire film looked like a pressure cooker of chaos and crime and bullets and guns. And your female characters were pretty much like Champaran mutton, very spicy, very subtle, but rich in their characters. Because I'm a founder of a non-profit which works for South Asian women and we amplify voices through our podcast. I wanted to understand from you, where do you see the female characters and protagonists who are this complex in characters in movies like these, like which is so noir, so grave? Where do you see them?
So let me just repeat that once again for the people in the back. To paraphrase it to shorten her question, in films that are so complex and so layered and has so much going on, is there room for female characters to be nuanced, to be layered and complex themselves?
See, I come from a very patriarchal world. Very patriarchal, very misogynist world. I come from that.
Me too.
So my family is very misogynist. My extended family is very misogynist. Like at my daughter's wedding, I did not invite my family. Because they had problems with my daughter's Instagram profile and her bikini pictures, and they would say that, how can she post a picture like that? I said, I was a photographer. So, you know, I come from that world. It's a very deep rooted world.
Yep.
In that same world, I've seen my grandmother being in charge. Everybody played a role. So I come from a world which is what you have seen in Wasipur. My grandfather was the man of the house outside the house. The house did not belong to him, it belonged to my grandmother. Everybody played a role. And complexity for me is very important. At the same time, I don't like misrepresentation. The misogyny in India is omnipresent.
Yeah.
And I cannot make a film where the woman character is fictional. She can have agency, but she's still, like I have seen mothers being patriarchal in my own house because they would always defend my father. And they would say, be home, whatever he does is right, everything. And when I went through my own abuse and I tried to talk about it, they dismissed it like it's part of life. It's part of growing up. So I've seen this. I do not want to misrepresent it. I come from a misogynist patriarchal world and my world will always be misogynist and patriarchal. At the same time, I have seen stronger women in my own family. They're as patriarchal. They don't become feminist. The stronger women in my families are as patriarchal. They're not feminists, but they're more patriarchal than the men are. And I have seen them buy into it,
Yeah.
and I have seen them transform it. Like, for example, I'll tell you a very important truth of my life is I produced a film called Queen. Right? I did not understand what feminism meant. Right? I did not understand. I felt like it's some kind of an activist badge. And somebody talked about Queen on a platform. And I was like, what is wrong with you? I said, neither the filmmaker, and filmmaker was a problematic person.
Certainly not a feminist, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Filmmaker was a problematic person. Right? He was anything but feminist. He was emotional. And everything else, I was like, you know what? I don't know why everything has to be seen through a lens. When I spoke about it, the real on-ground feminist reached out to me for the first time in my life, on ground, not a single one being a celebrity. And they said, Anurag, you don't understand, but the way you represent women in your film, you might not understand the meaning of it, but you represent them so honestly, we don't have a problem with you. But do not degrade feminism by saying you're not one. You might not understand it.
Yeah.
You might not understand it, but and then I had meetings. Literally, till date I can say that my daughter calls out things in me which are like, Papa, you're just being such a bloody male and patriarchal bloody whole thing. And I'm like, what did I do? And they call me out. So it doesn't go out from you. I've grown up like this. It'll probably take forever, and there'll always be 1 inch of it left in me. Because we don't know till we don't get called out. So I know because Queen, which is considered the most feminist film India has ever made, was not made by a single feminist involved.
Except Anvita.
Except Anvita. Except Anvita and a lot of other people, more money. I think
Wonderful
a
writer,
lot of
Anvita
people.
Bhatt, who we love.
Yeah. But a lot of, even other people involved, but I'm saying that we understood it after we made the film. So that's the fact. So I like the complexity. I'm not scared of complexity. And I make films more complex. Relationships more complex because I don't like it easy. The more complex it is, for me, then there's more to think about. Because somewhere our lives are like that. I don't like things simple.
Charlie is such a wonderful character. I love her introduction scene. I love that she chuckles in the elevator. She chuckles in the end. She's crying and laughing simultaneously. She's a wonderful character, and I've known women like that. I've known women who've had like something snap in
And
them.
her chuckle actually came from a woman I knew
Yeah.
back in the 90s. She used to laugh out so loud that would intimidate the men. And I was like, why do you do that? And she was like, that's the only way I can defend myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, defend yourself from what? It's because of the way I laugh, men get intimidated and they stay away from me. I never saw it like that. And I borrowed that from that person in the 90s and put it in my film.
Yes, we've all developed our own ways of intimidating men. We all have different ways of doing it. Alka is not doing this to me. So I'm intimidated by her right now. Which means we have to wrap up. Yes, Alka? Yes, we've got to wrap up. Ladies and gentlemen, Anurag Kashyap, Talia.